Hey friend, grab your coffee, tea, or good old H2O and settle in. Welcome to the Balanced NP Life podcast. I'm Dr. Latanya King and I'm so glad you're here. This podcast is about real conversations, real life, and real purpose. And today's episode is part of the Reinvention series, a series where we're exploring what it really means to grow, evolve, reinvent ourselves, and create lives that are aligned with who we're becoming. Today's episode is called When Your Career No Longer Fits. Now, before anybody starts updating their resume or drafting a resignation letter, this episode is not necessarily about leaving your job. It's about something deeper. It's about what happens when the life you've worked so hard to build no longer feels aligned with the person you're becoming. And friend, I think more people are experiencing this more than we realize. I can't even talk today. Especially high achievers, professionals, especially people who have spent years checking all the boxes, climbing that ladder, right? For most of my life, I've been building a career. I started as a respiratory therapist, then became a registered nurse. It's a whole journey in between there. Then a family nurse practitioner, and eventually I earned my Doctor of Nursing Practice degree in executive nursing leadership and management. But along the way, I had opportunities to lead programs, build programs, start programs from the ground up, build teams, worked with startup healthcare companies, and collaborate with organizations all the way from Tennessee to California. And I'm very grateful, truly grateful for every opportunity, every lesson, every relationship, every chapter. But somewhere along the journey, I learned something really important. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you're supposed to do it forever. Like, I have a lot of certifications in diabetes and this and that, and whew, it just goes on and on. Let's sit there for a second. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you're supposed to do it forever. Because that's a hard truth for people like us, right? We're the achievers, the fixers, the problem solvers, the people who figure everything out, the people who know how to make things work. And sometimes we become so busy succeeding that we never stop long enough to ask ourselves, is this still what I want to do? Is this still what I want? Does this still fit? Am I still excited about this? Or am I simply continuing because I've invested so much time into it, right? And man, what would I think? Who? I was gonna say it. Really, who cares? It's not about them. It's about you. They're not paying your bills, right? I remember reaching seasons in my career where everything looked great on paper. The title looked great. The accomplishments looked great. The opportunity looked really good. The organization, oh my God, top notch. But something inside me felt restless. Not because I wasn't grateful for the opportunity, and not because I was, and not, it's not because I wasn't grateful, but because I wasn't growing. And growth has a funny way of making old spaces feel too small. The career that fits you when you're in your 20s, 30s may not fit you in your 50s. The dream that inspired you 10 years ago may not be the dream inspiring you today, and that's okay. People love to talk, oh, look what they doing now. They switching up every other month. So what? What they feel inside has changed that month, that year, whatever that inspiration or business they started. That's okay. The goals that once excited you may evolve, and that is okay. I think sometimes, we judge ourselves for changing. I know I have like, man, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. So what? That's good. I've learned lessons from all of those seasons and businesses and things in my life. We tell ourselves, you should be happy. You worked hard for this. You should be satisfied. And maybe all of that is true. But if I can also be real, be true, that you're ready for something else, right? Not because you failed, but because you've grown, right? And that's a big difference. Let me say that again. We oftentimes feel that we should stay doing what we're doing because that's what our degree is in. That's what we've always done, right? And we feel like if we don't, we fail. But that it doesn't mean that. That means you've grown. And that's a big difference, right? For me, I started realizing that there were parts of myself that wanted to be more creative. I wanted to have more freedom, more purpose-driven work, more opportunities to teach, to inspire, to write, to speak, create. And let's be honest, the landscape of healthcare has changed. It's not because I stopped loving healthcare. Healthcare is going to always be a part of who I am, but because I realized I am more than my job title, right? And I don't mean no knock against this, but a lot of my leadership that I've had over the years, yes, I've learned something from them, but they've learned a lot from me, and they've shared that with me. And maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you're questioning what's next. Maybe you're feeling pulled towards something totally different that you've been putting off, something that you want to do, a book, a business, some type of creative project. Heck, even a whole new career path. A dream you've been carrying around for years. Trust me, I know. I got a few of those myself. And maybe you're afraid. Maybe you're worried about what will people think. Maybe you're worried about starting over. Maybe you're worried you're too old, you're too late, too established. Friend, you are not too old. You are not too late. And you are not stuck. We're allowed to evolve, to become. You're allowed to pivot, right? In fact, I believe that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. Maybe this season isn't about throwing everything away you've built. Maybe it's about building on top of it. Taking that wisdom, our intellectual property, as we like to say, taking that experience, taking the lessons and creating something new. And maybe that's what reinvention really is. Not becoming someone different, but becoming more fully yourself. Ooh, that's huge. I know it is for me. So if, you've been feeling restless, if you've been questioning what's next, if you've been wondering whether it's okay to want something different, let this be your reminder. Growth isn't a betrayal, and change isn't failure. We often feel like, man, I've done this. I got these degrees. I can't do that. I can't switch up now. What would that look like? And reinvention isn't starting over from scratch, y'all. It's building from experience. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this episode resonated with you, y'all share it with someone who's standing at a crossroads and they're wondering what's next. Until next time, I want you to keep growing, keep becoming, keep taking those next steps, and remember, sis, you got this. This is Dr. LaTanya King, and you've been listening to the Balanced NP Life podcast. See you in the next episode. Welcome to your next chapter.